All right, welcome in. Joshua, I got to go back down memory lane, and I can't help but to think the pre-draft quarterback rankings, they were telling me about some test that had something to do with processing a bunch of hoopla.
S2.
And let's take it here. Now, going down the stretch of the NFL season, C.J. Stroud throwing for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, including an excellent late game drive with about a minute left on the clock to lead his team to a win over the Buccaneers. We're not even talking about who's the best quarterback in the draft anymore. Now we're past that.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud, Offensive Rookie of the Year, your thoughts?
Yeah, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, people have talked about Puka Nacua, and I think that's a valuable part of that conversation. Listen, you can make an argument that C.J. Stroud deserves to have MVP votes
flat out
at this point in the year. Not that he should win the award, but he's played at a ridiculous level. The one thing that brings pain to my heart is the fact that this man could not beat Michigan.
I wonder why. Couple reasons. He's doing a phenomenal job, though, man. Seriously, I think it's a great chance to think about our shortcomings in the evaluation process. But that's
anybody
in the past.
who ever thought that is. Oof.
I hope you look back on that. But hey, welcome into Red Corner, Blue Corner. We're excited to have you guys with us today. This is Joshua Perry, the former captain, the former national champion, and all-around great dude, Ohio State Buckeye.
Jake Butt. The guy, the captain, Mackey Award-winning tight end, all-American man joining me today. Always good to be around you.
Collectively, we make up the Red Corner, Blue Corner, and make sure you give us a follow on Instagram at @RedCorner_Blue Corner and join the chat on YouTube. It's always popping off. We like to hear your comments. We like to interact with you. If you're not on YouTube right now, make sure you go to watchstadium.com/submit to send us your videos or questions, and we'll put you on the show. We'd love to have you in.
Yeah, we love hearing from you guys. Always fun when we get to run your clips. Definitely want to interact there. But, Jake, I want to look back at the weekend. We made some picks on Thursday. You went a perfect 5-0 this week. The only one that was in question was the Iowa-Northwestern game. It was nasty. But now, records as they stand, I'm 23-8. You are 21-10, just 2 games back. What do you think?
I'm knocking on the door. Well, it's the old saying, right? Champions are made in November. That's where the great ones separate. So I know you guys took your laps on me. You made fun of me. It's all good. I am refocused. Saw that coming from a mile away. Of course Iowa's going to win. Now I'm climbing. I'm right on your heels.
You did not see that from a mile away.
Oh, but I did.
You didn't feel good about that.
How do you feel with me climbing back on your heels?
I feel nothing. I never feel pressure, have never felt pressure. I have done very well in November myself, so I'm good.
Make sure you guys follow us because it's going to get real competitive down the stretch. We'll have more picks coming this week. Why don't we take it? We were talking a little Iowa, Northwestern. Why don't we go over to the West? The wild, wild West, as they say, and it got a little bit wilder. So here we go. Because Iowa beat Northwestern and because Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Minnesota all decided to forget that they needed to be great this weekend, the Hawkeyes now are back in the driver's seat. They have the sole possession of the lead in the West Division. And make sure you guys, with this in mind, scan the QR code to vote on today's poll. Will Iowa win the West? Yes or no? Please let us know. So Joshua, let's start here. Does Iowa deserve more love than we're giving them? Because we definitely give them some slack, but here they are sitting at 7-2 on the year and in the driver's seat in the West.
Hell no. No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Here's the thing about Iowa. Are they probably going to win the West at this point? Yes, and I think that's perfectly fine, right? I think we all came into this year expecting that this was a team that could compete for the West Division title, and here they are. This is the problem. We all saw what happened when they played against Penn State. They got ran off the field, okay? So we're going to see what happens to Penn State when they play Michigan this weekend, and then we'll be able to make a pecking order for what we think the East is. At bare minimum, this would be the 4th best team in the East, and we'll see when they play Rutgers what happens in that game.
That'll be a real interesting
Here's the reality of the situation for me. There is such a lack of balance in the Big Ten at this point that I think we've given Iowa a sufficient amount of love, because we know if they had to play an East schedule, they would be alongside Indiana in terms of their conference record.
Here's where I'm at in terms of do they deserve more love. I'm going to separate the whole thing. I think we have to kind of separate this. And for Kirk, the challenge is to keep them as a team. Does the defense and the special teams deserve more love? I think they deserve more love. I think Phil Parker's name should be known across the landscape of college football. He should be a household name because he is the reason, alongside the special teams, that they're sitting here at 7-2. Offense, maybe they deserve a little bit more flack from what they're getting because it's truly remarkable how it just stays here. So usually steady's a good thing, except if steady's all the way down here, you should probably take a little bit more flack than what you're getting.
The idea that you could have one of the worst offenses nationally, statistically, that you could fire an offensive coordinator during the season and still represent a division of your conference in the conference championship game, they are getting exactly the amount of attention that they deserve. Now, you, Jake, though, you have an idea for how to fix some of the shortcomings over there in the West.
Yes.
So why don't you tee it up for us?
Okay, so here's the funny thing about it, because it's not just Iowa's offense that have struggled. It's across the whole entire West. Yeah. And I know you share this with me. We're not guys that just like to complain. All right, that's the easy thing. Of course the offenses have struggled. What's the solution? That's where we're at with this. So let me present you a new type of scoring and tell me this wouldn't get you off your seat. Here's where it gets interesting. We're going to reward good defense and we're going to penalize bad offense. So instead of getting plus points for scoring, we're giving negative points for bad offense. If your offense goes 3 and out, that is -2 points. If you snap the ball over your quarterback's head, Northwestern, that is not only a turnover, but it's also -1 point. And if you allow 2 straight tackle for losses, if you are somehow going backwards, we have to disincentivize poor offense. If you are going backwards twice in a row, -3 points. So it's not like golf. The lower score doesn't win.
Okay.
The lower score hurts you.
So in this scenario, are we painting a picture where we could have negative scores in games? Like, we're going to start 0-0, right? So what we're going to see is back-to-back TFL. So now we're -3. Right, then we're going to get an incompletion on 3rd down. That's the 3 and out. Now we're -2. So after the first drive, feasibly, could the score be -5-0? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. And I think there's a chance we end up seeing games where the winner only got to -5, but the loser was at -15. I mean, come on now, right? This would shake things up a little bit, right? It'd be a little fun twist.
Jeez, oh, Pete. You know, we should pitch this to the conference office. If somebody over there has us on, please call us when we're finished.
I think TVs would eat this up, right?
This would be great for the television product. All right. We want to get elsewhere in the Big Ten. There's no surprise over the weekend that Michigan was able to roll past Purdue. But what did catch everyone's attention was the icy handshake after the game between Ryan Walters and Jim Harbaugh. Expanding more on his stance on the Michigan scandal, Walters said this in part: "I'm not shy about speaking the truth. If I had to do it over again, I'd say the same thing." When you saw the clips of that handshake floating around on the socials, what was your initial reaction to it?
I didn't have, to be honest with you, I didn't have a reaction.
Okay.
I respect it, honestly, for Coach Walters. Like, you don't say one thing and then act a different way, right? Like Coach Walters, you first off, I give respect to Coach Walters for putting his face on it.
Sure.
He was the first one to put his face on it and call a spade a spade. Like he said, he certainly doesn't like it. He can't respect what Stallions did. So he flat out went and said, "I don't like it." What do you expect him to do after the game? Hug Coach Harbaugh and say, great job, Coach. We wish you the best down the rest of the season. Like, no, that's not where we're at right now. Michigan has a target on their back because of their own actions. Ryan Walters handled it appropriately.
Yeah, there's this thing that people talk about, you got to stand on business, right? So when you make a statement, now you see me face to face, don't act like we're buddy-buddy, because we're not. And so from that standpoint, I'm totally there for it. To your point, Ryan Walters, like, if you would have done anything other than the blow-by handshake, I think people might have been asking questions, especially in the manner that you lost. Are you trying to save face a little bit? That's number one. Number two, I just, in general, think the tradition of the coaches having to shake hands is a little bit overblown. We understand that this is a sporting event. People are supposed to display sportsmanship. The fake niceness, I think, is actually bad sportsmanship. If you don't like somebody, don't fake it. And we need to stop teaching kids to fake it like this, because I don't think it's good. So since I put that out here, we've got the showdown coming up in Happy Valley. James Franklin, Jim Harbaugh, bad blood. What do you expect the handshake situation to be like here?
I hope it's the similar, and you're the first one I've heard say this. Fake sportsmanship, fake love, it works against the principle of sportsmanship.
Yes.
If they just walked off the field and didn't even acknowledge each other, the man in the arena, I think I would have no problem with it.
And it's not disrespectful.
Right.
Like, it's not flagrant. It's just the idea of, I don't know why I have to do this with you. This is not something I want to do, and I don't really believe in it.
You're my great friend. We never shook hands after an Ohio State-Michigan game.
No
love, no harm, no foul. I wanted to kick your ass on game day.
And I knew the same way.
Yes, exactly.
And it wasn't anything flagrant. It's just a competitor. Sometimes I don't need to do all of the ha-ha hee-hee for the camera,
yeah,
right?
No ha-ha hee-hees.
None from us. Well, plenty of ha-ha hee-hees, though, coming up after this break. We got a stat for you on the other side that could make you rethink the term leaders and best. We're going to check that out in just a few. And later on at 2 Eastern, be sure to stick around for Inside the Association. The guys will have the latest from the Big Apple as James Harden is set to make his debut for the Clippers tonight. That and more coming up on Stadium.
Football is just like a soap opera. There's so much fun drama, and we will get to see that come to a head in 19 days.
Oh boy.
19 days away from the game, Joshua. Let's go.
I feel like our relationship has a chance to deteriorate a little bit, but I think we're in this together, though.
It's the same handshake conversation, right? I'm okay with it deteriorating, right?
Yeah.
Let's make no mistake about what we both want here.
We're competitive.
Yes.
All right, well, speaking of the game, it's time for my super revealing, not trolling at all, stat of the week, and it's about Blake Corum. Blake Corum leads country, 16 rushing touchdowns. Big number there. But the combined yardage for all of those scores adds up to just 38 yards. What do you make of that?
So doing my quick math here, that is 2.25 yards per touchdown. Basically what the stat says is he's getting all of his touchdowns come from a goal line stand. My quick reacts. Stats in college football are extremely deceiving. You always have to provide context. This is a good example of it. Here's my quick reacts, though, is Blake, though cleared, is not fully, I've dealt with injuries.
Go ahead and speak.
You train all offseason. You train to make yourself more explosive and better. When you have a significant injury, you are rehabbing to get back to the point of being cleared. Not explosive, not healthy. So I think really what Michigan's doing is a smart thing, which is saving Blake for when they need him most, letting him get back into the rhythm. He looks healthy enough for sure, but they're building his confidence and certainly, I mean, you could maybe say padding the stats a little bit, right?
Well, they're padding the stats. I think Blake deserves to have his name all over the record books at Michigan because of what he did last year and honestly how he was kind of running to the ground by the end of last year. He has worked his tail off. He has earned the opportunity to score these touchdowns. So I'm not mad at it, but it has become a trend that I did want to point out. Now, when you talk about his injury, I think that it's really important to acknowledge. And I'll go as far as to say this for anybody who thinks he's full of it, and I'm speaking to the Ohio State audience here. Travion Henderson, we saw him as a freshman. We knew what he was. Last year, that man played hurt and didn't say a damn word to anybody. And we saw what he was last year. And people were saying he could not play football at the Ohio State University. And this year, now that he's fully healthy, looks like the best back in the conference. This is what Blake Corum's going through. He ain't all the way back. And he'll never say it. Jim Harbaugh will never say it. Because they're tough guys who believe in going out there and just playing the game. Because everybody's hurt at some point. But that's the reality.
That's spot on, man. And it's funny. We didn't give Trey the grace. We don't give Blake the grace. Good for both of them. I respect them for not making it a big deal and saying, oh, well, I'm playing hurt. It's not my fault. You know, they're owning it for what it is. Both are great. Both are great.
I love it, man. All right. Well, let's check in on Big Ten Country here with another edition of Message Board Monday. We're going to start on the Wolverine board. Cal said, any victory over this Michigan team will be tainted and will have a huge asterisk. This team has had this attack hanging over them this entire season. They've already played 3 games without their head coach, and now this? They say they don't hurt the kids. That's exactly who's getting hurt. So it's not the fact that anybody who gets beat by Michigan will have the game relitigated. It is only if you can secure a victory over Michigan that the game should have the star next to it.
That's quite the take. I don't know if I'm even fully tracking it there. Unfortunately, the kids are involved in this, but frankly, all they can do is go out there and play and keep winning, and that seems to be the case they're doing. I can't defend that take. I can't defend the take.
I'm glad you didn't try to.
No, I can't even
defend
that
is a wild thing to say. And again, these people online, y'all are crazy. Like, get off of your computer, go get some fresh air at some point. But the idea that Michigan gets to be the victim purely in this scenario, and nobody else was victimized at all, is wild.
No, we're not standing for that. Okay, so let's go over to Iowa. This is a hot topic here. Hawkeye 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has an idea for the next offensive coordinator. We are all ears. Eric Bieniemy, go get him. It's not a long shot. Guy is never going to get a shot at the head coach in the NFL. I disagree. I'm sure there's a way to make him head coach in waiting. He makes $2.5 to $3 million a year, make him the highest paid college offensive coordinator / head coach in waiting. Joshua?
Yeah, the idea that he's not going to get a shot, I don't know if I agree with that either. The idea that he would want to go from being a coordinator in the NFL with a traditional offseason where you're dealing with pros and you don't deal with name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal and recruiting of kids where you have to kiss a lot of ass, I think is probably attractive to him. Also, brother, he's going to look at that roster. He's going to look at Iowa City and say, hey, I appreciate it, but no thanks.
Here's the thing. This is a great opportunity for the Hawkeye fans that think you're one Eric Bieniemy away from having a top offense. This is you're in for a rude awakening because these problems are a little bit deeper than Brian. I know he takes a lot of slack. The problems are a little bit deeper than just a creative offensive mind.
Yeah. All right. Let's get over to the Gopher Hole. Mr. 131 is down about his team writing in part.
Wow.
I'm 14% embarrassed to post this. I am still 32% inebriated. But my guys, I see no reason to try to find joy in this empty, bottomless pit that is Minnesota sports.
Oh.
This feels like it's more than just a commentary about the Minnesota Gophers. Feels like the Vikings may have broken this person's heart a few times.
Yeah.
Like this is deep and layered.
What a great win last night for the Vikings,
Sure,
though, right?
absolutely.
You know, this is the frustrating thing, though, right? Because you are sold something every single offseason, which is, you know, we are elite, we work hard, we are championship mindset, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. But then when push comes to shove, I think the conservative mindset works to get you to 7 wins a year and sometimes 8. But it's a double-edged sword because it costs you at times. And that game was as much lost by Minnesota as it was won by Illinois. So I can feel the frustration. Trust me, I know the pain. I went to Michigan, so I know the tough times.
And Jake, I think there are a lot of people who are fans of that program too that feel like their program is ready to take a step back or regress. Because PJ has brought them some success, but he hasn't been able to get over the hump. There was an opportunity to be in control of the West, and they weren't able to seize that opportunity, which I think was big for them. And I love how you like to point out that a lot of games are actually lost and not won.
It's so true. It is so true. Well, coming up, it's time for the conference clash. We are joined by T-Bob Hebert and SEC Mike. They're going to help us put some coaches on notice. Is your coach on that list?
Uh-oh.
That's next here on Red Corner, Blue Corner.
for every Alabama fan out there listening, and according to this poll to the left of me, apparently it's a lot of you, something cuts, but for every one of you listening, I want you to listen very closely and I want you to hear me, because your time in the sun, your time at the top, it's over, and you are going to die without ever reaching the heights that you have occupied for the past 15 years.
All right, thank you, T-Bob. And with that in mind, hey, welcome back. We want to do a roll call. You viewers at home can participate. Raise your hand if your team won this week. And everyone raise your hand. Your team? SEC Mike?
Yeah.
T-Bob.
Oh, wow. T-Bob, are you good?
T-Bob?
Where's your hand, T-Bob?
Okay.
Where's your hand?
Hold on. First of all, everything I said to A.J. McCarron is still true. Okay, look, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I must be confused, guys. Maybe I just forgot what's going on. I didn't know that Alabama would be victory lapping so hard for beating a team that lost to Ole Miss. Like, what are we talking about? What, Alabama suddenly arrived because they beat a 6-3 football team? What are y'all talking about? Like, Alabama measures themselves by championships. My entire point is they ain't winning another championship anytime soon, at least not how they did the last 15 years. Like, Alabama needs to be concerned about beating Georgia, because right now Kirby Smart has cucked them. He's taken over. He's at the top. No, look. Zach, I mean, LSU 6-3. I'm out here. What are you worried? I'm out here. And you Ohio State and Michigan guys, don't you have bigger fish to fry? Jake, I won't even get started on you, okay? Michigan, Jim Harbaugh's about to be suspended indefinitely, okay? So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And Joshua, you should be worried about trying to beat Michigan for the first time in 3 years, not getting your ass kicked again. I'm out here fighting for like a New Year's Six Bowl. I'm trying to beat Tulane. Why are you worried about me?
This is the passion we love about college football. You know what, T-Bob? I love it. I love it, but you're wrong.
And what bothered me about that, and I see what you did there, but you're not going to do they couldn't beat little old us. Y'all missed the whole damn point. Because the way you were running your mouth, you need to stand on business. Y'all lost.
I do stand on business. Look, I'm like Drewski. I do stand on business. Look, bottom line, I am the stupid goofy meme. I'm going to do it again next year. I will never not talk crap before the game. Only cowards wait until afterwards. I'm going to always talk my crap. I'm going to always spill my rants, and I'm going to always move the goalpost. That just is what it is. I'll do it again.
So I do have a theory, though, that every time somebody says that the Alabama dynasty is over, it helps to extend the dynasty.
Like a slingshot.
So you will not hear me say that, because I think it gives them even more superpowers. Now, I want to turn the page real quick before it's your guys' show. I mean, we saw what happened to USC against Washington, so they fired Alex Grinch. We talked about Brian Ferentz last week. What other coaches need to go? What other coaches need to go?
A lot of LSU fans would tell you Matt House. And it's certainly looking as if just objective. I have no animus towards Matt House. It is what it is. Coaching is a performance profession. And right now, he's just not performing up to snuff. And so when you're paid $2 million, one of 5 DCs in the country, and that's the product you put on the field all year long, like, again, no animus, no personal feelings. That's just the reality of the situation.
And, hey, don't forget Mississippi State at Texas A&M this weekend. The loser shouldn't even make it to their post-game press conference. They should be fired for incompetence. We got to fire these guys for cause. Their causes, they suck. I'm looking at you, Zach Arnett. I'm looking at you, Jimbo Fisher. Get the hell out of my conference.
Oh, my goodness. This is good.
Who should be fired in the Big Ten? All right, here we go.
Mike Yurcich, real quick. Penn State OC.
Okay, that's fair. Also, maybe Jim Harbaugh. I don't know.
Yikes.
You know? In fact, Jake, all I'm saying is I watched the LSU film from the other night, LSU Bama, and the lack of a spy on Jalen Milroe is mind-boggling and maddening. I was wondering, Jake, do you know where I could maybe find a spy to help out LSU? Is there anywhere, anybody that you can think of, ideally with like a military background, maybe really like anybody that you can think of?
There's one guy I know that he just became available. He's a free agent now. He was employed and exceeded all expectations. I'll see if I can get his email to you and pass it down your way.
Actually, in all honesty, he did exceed expectations. Very good point. Like he brought it to that. There's my guy. That's who we need right there. If he was on the field for LSU, I guarantee you LSU would not have been dropping guys 30 yards into coverage and just leaving Jalen Milroe to look at that open field like me at a Chinese buffet.
Oh, my God.
I mean, they just let him feast, dude. It was unbelievable.
T-Bob, unfortunately, you shouldn't need a spy to you shouldn't need a spy to know there should be a spy, right?
I know, dude. I don't understand it. Okay, so a lot of the talk of the game is from this Dallas Turner hit on Jaden Daniels. And I want to be clear about this. I was a dirty player. I love hits after the whistle. I love cheap shots. I love getting the other guy to commit a personal foul because you did something dirty and they react. So my view on this is I've never known a good football player that has had a kill shot lined up and been like, I better hit this guy responsibly. Like, to me, football is violence. I don't fault Dallas Turner here. I mean, he sweeps the leg. He takes out guys consistently. There is the more nuanced conversation about targeting. Many people very upset that this was not called targeting. Again, I don't really care either way. In your opinion, I'm looking for an unbiased take here. Should this have been targeting on Dallas Turner? Should he have been ejected from the game?
Yeah, I'm going to say that wasn't targeting. And I know where people are getting with it, and the quarterback is in a defenseless posture and all of the things. I think he literally just put his face on a dude. And if I ever teach young people how to tackle, that's going to be the phrase that I use with them. I'm not saying lead with your head, but you have to keep your face up. You have to see what you hit and bow your neck up and launch into somebody. That's how I would teach it, right? Driving the legs and doing all those things. We know that quarterbacks get protection, which I don't necessarily agree with, but this is where we're at. I would ask this other question too, and I know the result of this play. I was a guy who had 6 concussions documented playing the game of football. It's why I didn't play any longer than I did. But I would ask you this question. How would we feel if this dude was taking out knees? If instead of putting his face on
that's the only time where it
face,
crosses a line to me.
If he was taking out knees, would this be different?
I mean, I'm a guy that tore my ACL 3 times, and I will make myself available to say, please, like, hit me up top, and I'll take the risk at times. Because I think what we've done is just back defenders into a corner. And the one thing is if you're going to make a rule, let's make it really damn clear, right? And that applies to a lot of things, of course. But let's make it clear. And let's also separate the NFL from college, because in the NFL, you're not allowed to put your full body weight on the quarterback through a tackle. That's not the rule in college. But the whole point here is you know, when it comes to targeting, it's to protect players, right? But that the lack of consistency when it comes to that call leaves a lot of gray area, and we shouldn't be having this type of debate.
So, and so I guess then to me the more interesting thing, is it a dirty play? Because I know that a lot of people expect me to say yes, but I just don't. I think it's just football, guys. Like, I wish I had a Dallas Turner on my team. I wish Harold Perkins would have caught Jalen Milroe under the jaw and just blown him the hell up. Like, I just feel like that's the game. I mean, Mike, what do you think? When you view that, you don't have a dog in the fight. Is that a dirty play?
You play for Alabama? Hell yeah, that's a dirty play. Now, we got to remember, this is a guy, he's knocked out Quinn Ewers. He's ripped Jackson Dart's head all the way around. He's pushed Jackson Dart's head into the dirt. He is a dirty player. I see what you're saying, but no, I was screaming, dirty play, kick him out, get him off the field. But maybe that's because I hate Alabama. I don't know.
Well, maybe the reputation does factor into it when you start to evaluate certain guys. And I think you bring up a good point, SEC Mike, because I did see some of the clips there on Twitter where people said that. I just look at it from an individual standpoint, and I think it's becoming increasingly more difficult for defenders to know exactly where to target somebody who they are getting ready to hit so they can avoid the penalty. Now, I think the more egregious part of that play was the way that he drove him into the ground and tried to collapse that man's chest in. The second impact that Daniels had from that hit was more egregious than the initial impact, if we're being honest.
Yes,
but
100%.
that is the game of football.
The principle of that is what we're trying to move away from too, Joshua, which is like, hey, we're trying to make head injuries and serious concussions. We're trying to find ways to minimize that. And for every reason we've talked about, like that comes at a cost, and it comes at some there's issues that come about. I do think he could have let up. Like, you are in an extremely vulnerable position when you're being brought down like this, and your spine and the back of your head's vulnerable.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I mean, without a doubt. But if that's my teammate, I don't want him to let up.
I'm with you.
I'm saying, I say, get your money's worth, bro. You finally made it to the movie. Let's watch the show. Like, I ain't leaving early. All right, boys. Jake Butt, Joshua Perry, the absolute best red quarter, blue quarter. Thank you so much, my friends. Y'all have a great day. Right now, okay, forget about that still shot. Let's talk about the actual game, dog, because we got to witness one of the most fantastic, dynamic, dual threat running quarterback duels that I've ever seen. Now, unfortunately, because of that hit, it was cut about a quarter short, and we were kind of, cheated out of any potential late game heroics. But I mean, look at these stats. Jayden Daniels, Jalen Milroe, both going off. Mike, there's a few different ways you can take this. First off, what's your opinion of Milroe here? Because I think that's kind of interesting. Is this more about, oh my God, Jalen Milroe is getting really good, he's arrived? Or is this Jalen Milroe was very good against just an awful LSU defense that him in an inexplicable way?
I mean, is it cheating to say both? Because he has leaps and bounds better than he was early in the season when he was costing them the game against Texas. He didn't play against South Florida, of course. Against Ole Miss, he was throwing some one horrible interception in the end zone there. But he has gotten better and better and better. And I think it was complete a smokescreen, so to speak, LSU's defensive improvements against Army and Auburn. Huh. I mean, Auburn is just awful. So, I think they are legitimately probably the 12th best defense in the SEC, and that may be being too kind. But Jalen Milroe took advantage of it, didn't beat him with his arm. I would force him to beat you with his arm, but LSU, I think, was totally incapable of doing that.
Well, and that's the conversation now of why Matt House, the LSU defensive coordinator, is one of the top 5 paid coordinators in the country. That's why he's not being called into question, because all analysis coming into this game was built on this core caveat that you were going to first prioritize stopping Milroe scrambling, right? And I've had sources that have told me that at least one NFL coach on that staff basically told his players on the plane ride back, guys, don't beat yourself up too badly. Like, this was a weird game plan. We basically we used the same game plan that we used to use in the NFL to defend like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, right? Like guys who you knew were elite throwers, but could not get out of the pocket. So that's why Matt House is in trouble now, is because, yes, LSU has personnel issues, but at the end of the day, every coach is judged by, do we think that he is elevating relative to the talent or dragging down relative to the talent? And when you see, like, Mike Golick Jr. just tweeted, it's such a beautiful, succinct way of saying, he said, watching Harold Perkins in the Alabama game made me sad. When you make a defender as dynamic as Harold Perkins just a non-issue, and you have guys like Mason Smith, who used to be freshman All-Americans, who exit this game as your lowest graded players according to PFF, it's a bit of a defensive disaster. Now, LSU, like Brian Kelly nailed it. We played good tonight. Good's not good enough. You have to play elite when you go on the road and play a top 10 team. So enough about LSU. The story here should be Alabama. 7 straight wins after the week 2 loss of Texas. And all of a sudden, they sit atop the SEC West, Kentucky, Chattanooga, Auburn, whatever, right? Like, we are heading for another heavyweight Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, SEC championship battle in Atlanta. How are you feeling about how this Saban team, which was so flawed early on, can now how do they stack up against the back-to-back national champions?
I still would lean heavily towards Georgia, and that's assuming Brock Bowers is back on the field by that time. And yeah, I'd take him by over 2 touchdowns to beat Alabama.
Come on now, Mike. 2 touchdowns, and you just saw Mizzou go into Athens and take Georgia down to the wire. A chance to take the lead late before that beautiful big man interception, which we'll get to later. But you just saw that, and you think you would still lean heavily UGA?
Yeah, because people don't understand how good Missouri is, and that's what I was screaming. Right. I knew they were going to cover. I thought maybe they could beat Georgia outright. Now, of course, they couldn't. But when I see 61 seconds on the clock and LSU gets the ball in a critical spot right before halftime, they just march through Alabama's defense, which was supposed to be, the stronger side of the. I thought Alabama, again, I feel like I'm the only one seeing these things, but LSU went up and down the field on them basically until they got the quarterback knocked out and they made the one interception. That was a critical play, but I don't know. I'm still not buying into Alabama.
So, yes, LSU went up and down the field, but this is another worldly offense. Like, Jaden Daniels still might get to New York City if he's not hurt, if he can play this week, and if LSU finishes this season strong. I don't know that I fault Alabama for giving up. I mean, I think they held probably the best offense in the country to 28 points. And admittedly, that comes with the caveat of a Jaden Daniels injury, so maybe it would have been like 35 or something along those lines. But I don't know that I necessarily exit this game super down on that Tide defense, because that was the best secondary that I've seen all year long, and they got that killer in Dallas Turner and a couple other guys up front seven that are really damn good. Like, I think that I don't know, man. I think Carson Beck in Georgia would have some real problems against this Alabama defense.
Well, the difference being that Georgia's got an elite defense too, and they have a top three offense in the SEC. So, yeah, it's not nearly as good as LSU's, because I don't think anybody's is, but I don't think the drop-off is, maybe 8-point different there between LSU and what Georgia can do, and I think they can put up stops. They can force Jalen Milroe to beat them and his one receiver, seemingly Jermaine Burton, who they know quite a bit about. No, I got no confidence in Alabama to beat Georgia on a neutral field.
Well, we're probably going to figure out. Unless SEC, no, even if, well, we'll get to it. Coming up next to our rivals down south, Carson Beck starting to make a believer out of dog fans. They're coming around to Mike Bobo as well. And Lane whiffing Kiffin, Mike. He ain't whiffing no more. Making it pretty interesting there in Oxford. We'll get into it all. Could Ole Miss be in the playoff conversation? Next on Rivals. Welcome back here to Rivals Down South. Sam Brief says, look like targeting to me. I don't know. Maybe not. Speaking of targeting, the Georgia Bulldogs have a target on their back as everybody in the country is trying to stop them from winning another national championship. And although those Mizzou Tigers put up a good fight, it just wasn't enough in the end. Nazir Stackhouse with the big pick late. And I will say this, man, maybe my favorite visual of the weekend was that beautiful 6'3", 320-pound belly swaggering downfield, ball in hand. It was fantastic. It's one of those throws where it felt like Brady cooked you. You know, you're already doing it, and you know it's bad as you're doing it. And it's like your world slows down, but it's already in motion, and you just can't stop it. The Rubicon's already been crossed. Let's talk Georgia. This is a win over the number 12 team in the country. Carson Beck, a very clean and efficient 254, 2 touchdowns on the year now, already up to 2,700 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks. And so the question becomes, where do we stand? Is it finally are we ready to admit that he's good? And this is what I'll say. I think Carson Beck is really, really good, but there's a certain je ne sais quoi that kind of holds me back from saying that he's elite. And look, when he drops back to throw, I get nervous for the defense because it feels like he's making consistently great decisions. He does a fantastic job of spreading the ball around. I just feel that they maybe lack, him and this Georgia team, Mike, a bit of that killer instinct, right? Like even in Saturday's game, they always felt in control. They never really felt like they were going to lose, but they never quite put the knife in. Despite feeling in control, they never just put it out of question. And that could maybe cost them as they're going to see increased levels of competition from here on out.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for Georgia just believing that the other team's intimidated. And I don't think Missouri was intimidated. I thought Missouri was a better team on the line of scrimmage. They were getting after Carson Beck. And to your point, is he elite? No, I'm not ready to say that yet. Now, he's got a red-hot Ole Miss coming into town. And when they're running the ball, the way Jackson Dart has progressed, I think they're probably the most balanced, maybe short of LSU, maybe the most dangerous offense in the SEC. So it could be a shootout-style game. And then the following week at Tennessee, sold-out crowd, Neyland Stadium. That's going to be a big environment. We'll know about Carson Beck by the end of that. If Georgia remains undefeated, then I will probably say he is elite because he's going to have to make some big plays the next 2 weeks. But, yeah, I think Saturday, again, showed flaws. This is not the Georgia of old. They should still be number one probably, but they're not of the caliber just yet of those last 2 national champions, at least not in my opinion.
No, look, there's no doubt that they're not that. It's just a question of whether or not they're better than everybody else. And that remains a bit of a muddy picture. And like you said, the team they're going to face this weekend, Ole Miss, coming off of a massive win. I mean, got to be a pair of the best wins in a single season in Oxford. When you talk about beating LSU in the manner that you did after going down 9 in the 4th, this game as well, after kind of leading the whole time, A&M really just kind of out-toughs you for a long stretch of the second half. They take a late lead, but Ole Miss, what is this? Mental toughness, physical toughness, figures out a way to take back the lead. And then what an ending as Randy Bond puts it up in the air. And I mean, I love what I would call game of inches moments, Mike, in which these old cliches ring true. And I mean, you just graze the ball and it falls a yard or 2 short and everything changes because of that, right? The Aggies have now lost 9 straight road games. Ole Miss has now beaten A&M 3 years in a row. Hell, a lot of people at A&M probably want to bring Lane Kiffin over to be their head coach. But before we get there, Ole Miss faces UGA next, a vastly different test. From how you look at these 2 teams and analyze them, how realistic is the opportunity for Ole Miss to go in there and win?
I think it's very realistic, and I would probably give Ole Miss a better shot than even Tennessee in Neyland Stadium to knock off this Georgia team. And some of that is Brock Bowers not being in the lineup. He may go against Tennessee, but again, confidence. Ole Miss got that confidence right now. They got Judkins going. He's the best running back in the country, in my opinion. The tempo gives Georgia issues, and we'll see that the next 2 weeks with Tennessee and Ole Miss. But how about this, T-Bob? The spread's 11. This is the 3rd lowest spread for a Georgia game the last couple of years. Clemson in the 21 opener was 3, and then Tennessee last year 9.5. Those are the only 2 spreads that have been lower going into a Georgia football game the last since 2021.
Is that a good sign, though? What happened in those 2 games, Mike? I mean, was the Clemson one close? Clemson might have been close. Is that when nobody could score?
Right.
When it was maybe like
7-3.
Oh, okay. So that one was close. I was about to say the Tennessee game didn't quite work out, maybe like you were hoping. But here's where it becomes interesting if you're a Rebel fan. Unfortunately, with the Alabama win, the door to Atlanta will forever remain closed to Ole Miss, at least in this current setup where Ole Miss has never won the West and making it to Atlanta, and they're not going to this year. But maybe not the worst thing, because if that had happened, you would have had to go into Athens and beat Georgia, and then you would have had to turn around and play Georgia again in the SEC championship. You ain't going to beat them twice, right? So now you have a very interesting situation where if they go into Athens and win this weekend, and they finish this thing off 11-1 with a UGA win, all of a sudden you're looking probably like the best team on the outside looking in, right there alongside maybe like a Texas or Oklahoma. And so if chaos happens, which there always does, like we always think it's going to play out how we think, and it never does. If chaos starts to happen, all of a sudden it could be Ole Miss sneaking in the 4-team playoff. If Lane Kiffin somehow accomplished that, I mean, I don't know. That's the stuff that legacies and legends are made of. Like, that's how you become immortal in a college fan base's mind.
Yeah, and here's where my hatred of Alabama comes from. It's things like this, T-Bob, because this happened a couple of years ago to Bama. They didn't win the division. Auburn did. They faced Georgia in the SEC championship. Auburn lost, and we put Alabama in the playoff. And now this is the same scenario. No one in the country will have a better win than Ole Miss if they go to Athens, knock off the 2-time defending national champion that's won 26 games in a row. Yet they don't have a prayer. I really don't think they do. But I think Saturday should be a playoff game for them. And if they win it, I think they should be, one of the 4, as long as you don't have 4 undefeated teams. They will have proven more to me than just about anybody in the country can prove, beating Georgia on the road in Athens at night, nonetheless. So to me, it is a playoff game, but I don't think the playoff committee will do it.
Time for one final break. Still to come on Rivals Down South. The Vols make school history, and we're a couple of coaching jobs up for grabs at Gainesville. We'll break it down next to Rivals Down South. Well, would you look at little old Tennessee winning 59-3 with 1, 2, 3 defensive touchdowns, Mike? Oh, how we feeling?
Yeah, school record. Been playing football for over 120 years. Never been done. And this is what a good coach does. He just trashes these teams. I'm not used to it. I'm used to these being dangerous games. So I breathe easy on this one.
Yeah, we all remember Georgia State, Mike, or at least some do. Those are the real ones do. With Arkansas, Florida, how about our boy Sammy Pittman not only getting a big, tough, hard-fought OT win in the Swamp, but it assured him that he'll have a 500 record since 2021, which triggers a clause that bumps his buyout up from $10 million to $6 million. So if you want to fire that man, he may have made himself an additional $6 million with the dub, dude. What a win for Pittman.
Yeah, and I'll go on a limb right now. I guarantee it. Arkansas is going to the postseason, means they win out. They're beating Auburn. They're beating FIU, and then they're going to beat Mizzou in the season finale.
Okay, look, I think Pittman's safe for whatever that's worth. But we'll see. Is Billy Napier safe, Mike?
One more loss. He's got 3 ranked opponents coming up. He'll have the worst record for a Florida coach in his first 2 years since 1980. Charlie Bell, get him out of here. They'll bring him back, but he should be out of here.
I mean, everything I hear is that he's safe for maybe not even just this year, but next year. But that is some damning numbers right there, Mike. Hey, a huge thank you to everybody joining us in our Rivals Downtown, the entire production team. My guy, SEC Mike, we love you. I'm feeling good, boys. We'll see you tomorrow.